Mrs. Galbraith, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mrs. Gasparro?
Here.
Dr. Hall?
Here.
Mrs. Sanders? Mr. Teray? Mrs. Galbraith here.
Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this evening for our good news report, we have Mix It Up Day, October 25th.
Good evening. Good evening. Are you on?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Very briefly, we are excited to announce the upcoming Mix It Up Day coming October 25th, Tuesday, October 25th. This would be our fourth year as a school district partaking in the Mix It Up at Lunch Day. Just to tell you a little bit about it, the Mix It Up model schools embrace respect and inclusiveness as core values. They mix it up all year long by organizing and publicizing events and implementing the day. This is about teaching children tolerance, and it's about teaching them how to live together and work together. And we have met with great success in part of the Mix It Up Day. I'm excited to announce that I just found out that Crete Elementary has been awarded national model status for the 15-16 school year for their work and their campaign leading up to Mix It Up Day called Give Peace a Chance. And I want to give a special thanks to the principal, Erin Lane, and to Mrs. Linda Novak for their outstanding work. Leading up to that day, the students wrote reflections on what peace feels like and posted their writings together in the shape of a giant dove. On the big day, students were assigned to tables corresponding with each letter in the word peace. They wore tie-dye and listened to music with lyrics about peace and love, their own Mix It Up Woodstock. And so they've just been awarded National Mix It Up Model School status. And so I just want to applaud their efforts and to thank them. And I want to invite everyone to stay tuned to our schools and to our website. I don't know if you've seen our Facebook page with some of our Mix It Up ambassadors who are doing a fantastic job. These are students who are promoting Mix It Up among their classmates. And we're very proud of what has been done. And we want to share more with you in the coming weeks. And Mix It Up Day is Tuesday, October 25th, all day. So thank you for that. I do want to point out, I think a few of our other schools previously gained recognition through Southern Law. Yes.
It's a testament again to the principal and her entire staff. And thank you, Mrs. Nash, for presenting that to us tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving forward to our public comment portion of our board meeting. First, we have Cindy New from ACME here to comment about the ACME ratification vote. President of ACME.
Thank you. Good evening. Evening. I'm here to let you know that Acme held a ratification vote yesterday, Monday, October 17th. And after all votes were tallied, I'm happy, very happy to report to you that we unanimously voted to ratify the tentative agreement that we reached during bargaining. I'd just like to thank you all for your time during the process and look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Was the vote 200 to 0? Is that what you?
Thank you.
Can somebody in the booth check? There's a horrible echo here every time they use that microphone, and even now when I'm speaking, it's echoing off the whole backside here. Thank you.
On the behalf of the Board of Education, to Ms. New, as well as the entire union, Acme Union, we thank you all as well for working with us and coming together in collaboration for what's best for our members of our union. And we thank you all for all that you do and that you continue to do. And thank you for coming tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'd just like to thank Acme, and we're going to do CMA this evening also. I'm happy to say that what we talked about on the first day this year, labor peace, is where we're going to get to. I appreciate all of the hard work that you guys had to do. Lots of long hours, lots of working, and lots of designing. But that's what we have to do together. And I really appreciate us getting our meetings started again today, where we're sitting down at least monthly to talk about issues so that we can make sure we alleviate any concern. We want people coming here to work and enjoying what they do every day to make sure that we take care of all of our children. Thank you in being a partner in that.
Thank you, Dr. Cunningham. Next, we have Georgia Sizemore, Crete Public Library Connections.
I'm on the Board of Trustees for the Crete Public Library, and I've met most of you before. Just wanted to remind you of all the ways that we can connect with you. We have a neat veterans program going on. I think it's the November 9th. We have 2 librarians. I think her name is Cassandra, and we have who visit the high school and the junior high and the middle school regularly, and they also visit the grade schools. And we have a neat staff. And I'm so glad that they spend a lot of time with our schools. I really thought that was important. The other thing is we have always want to remind you that we have that preschool toddler time. Lots of books to read. And in addition, we have a book sale on the 22nd, this Saturday. And books for, like, you can fill a paper bag for $8. You can buy whatever you need. And they're used books, they're gently used books. And the money goes to the Friends, and the Friends of the Library support things like the Butterfly Garden, where we let loose some butterfly stories and actual butterflies that were homegrown in the library at the Butterfly Garden. We've also supported things like senior citizens AARP driving workshop, and the Friends of the Library use their money. They don't just sit on it. It's kind of neat. So just wanted to remind you, it's a great thing for teachers. I know I used to want to always fill up my bookcases, in the classroom, and it's a great way to do it when you've got used books. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just make a comment, Mrs. Sizemore. You have came to this board a couple times just giving us an update of what's going on with the library over at Crete. And it's a true testament again on what you're doing, letting the public know what's going on over there. So I really appreciate it. You are very valuable assets to the community. So keep up the good work, you and your staff, okay? You're welcome.
Thank you. We will now have administrative updates. Our superintendent update, Dr. Cunningham. LUDA conference.
Thank you. On the 6th and 7th of October, the Large Unit District Association, or LUDA Conference, was held. LUDA was created in 1976 by a group of superintendents who recognized the need for an organization that would provide networking, professional development, and advocacy for large unit districts. We are a large unit district. The purpose of LUDA is to promote sound and efficient operation of large unit school districts in the state of Illinois, to serve as a resource of information for large unit school districts, and make known to the public the educational, financial, operational, and organizational needs and concerns of large unit districts. And also to influence legislation and regulations, disseminate analysis, studies, and research in order to assist the development of sound educational policy. LUDA represents the largest 53 unit school districts in the state of Illinois, thus speaking on behalf of more than half the students in the state. Unit districts are those that educate students from pre-K to 12th grade, and large is defined as an enrollment of at least 3,500 students. LUDA finds the commonality and diversity of all of our members, thus the goal is regional diversity. Each year, District 201U has found some items or something at the conference to assist in our improvement. This year, we were introduced to the Redefining Ready system. I've handed out probably 3 items for each of you that includes there. The Redefining Ready is a 2-pager that's really there that kind of talks about college readiness and the new ways that ESSA is dealing with it and the new systems that we have. Redefining Ready is designed to help districts and the states develop college readiness indicators for their districts. The state of Illinois has had a listening tour that discussed the items for ESSA. Dr. Hall attended one of the meetings and brought back information to the districts. Redefining Ready is something that we should consider. It is a research-based system that allows districts to develop college and career readiness measures. I've spent time talking to Ms. Hurst and Dr. Harden, and we've taken a good look at this and would like to be involved. And we're going to have when we have our November Committee of the Whole meeting, we're going to recommend that we sign on as a district that supports Redefining Ready. The large and the small of this is we are making sure that we take a look at students as people, not as just test scores. And it gives us indicators that make sense to our students and to our parents so that we can track our students as they are, whether it's college ready or career ready. I know we have a third in there that also includes enlistment, and we will develop measures for that ourselves too. Also included in there was a quick look at a student and what that would look like from our partner, ECRA. And then a note on research into practice and how extracurricular activities improve student scores. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
More of a comment.
Mhm.
I was able to attend a conference over the weekend, and one of the seminars I went to was on ESSA and college readiness. So I'm very interested to read all this, especially considering I'm a college teacher. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about this. I know you had this included in your FYI, but it's so much easier to read it when it's printed and in color in front of you. So thank you for that. And also, Dr. Hall, the ESSA session that I went to, I can't remember the presenter's name, but when we were going around introducing ourselves, I told them I was there as a higher ed member, but that I was also on the school board, and she said she was at your walking tour. And she said that she learned a lot, and she said to make sure that I let you know that you did a great job. So thank you for representing us well. Thank you.
Did you say, let me know I was doing a great job? What was that? I didn't
hear you.
I think your mic was.
No, I can't hear what, it's all echoing.
Yeah, I would just add thank you for that, Dr. Cunningham. We had a long discussion at the last committee of the whole about, being able to really track kids through their progress and making sure that they're on track. And this seems at least one component of this seems to offer a pretty effective system for doing that. So it's definitely worth looking into and considering getting involved with. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I had one other item. Last week we had kind of a discussion in our committee about the timelines for negotiations for CMEA, and I wanted to make sure that I went over that this evening before we did our vote to make sure that we had everything set. This is how the ratification went. On Wednesday, August 31st, CMEA verbally 31st. Say it one more time.
That's
I
leap
got marbles in my
year.
mouth. Yeah. Gee. Can't hear me. It's echoing over there anyway, right? Okay. Verbally requested revised salary schedule for her ratification meeting. The request was immediately sent to our attorneys for a copy of the schedules. On Thursday, September 1st, Ray Hauser forwarded the salary schedules to our offices. And upon review, Mr. Neal found errors, and he contacted Ray to correct them. On Friday, September 2nd, Ray returned the corrected salary schedules to Mr. Neal, and he immediately forwarded them to CMEA. In mid-September, Mrs. Bragg requested time on September 22nd for the early release day to meet with all membership, her membership, and to present the work that we had done. The request was granted on September 16th. On September 20th, the regular board meeting, no vote for ratification hadn't been taken, so we couldn't take the vote. On September 22nd, Mary met with her membership to review the terms of the agreement. On September 26th, CMEA held the ratification vote during the lunch mods at the end of the school day for the members to have ample time to vote. At 6:34 on September 26th, CMEA notified the administration that the membership had ratified the agreement. On September 27th, the regular board meeting, no board vote for ratification could take place because it had only taken place 24 hours before, and we must have 48 hours notice in order to place a vote on the board agenda. On October 18th, which is tonight, is the earliest regular board meeting available for ratification for the CMEA agreement. And we have placed it on the agenda for this evening. October 18th, 2016, tonight.
And you're just giving us what the process has been or the time?
Yes, to
I
make
understand it was supposed to be, well, I'm glad you cleared it because I guess I understood or have been getting mixed messages about whether or not it was the Board of Education who was stalling allegedly. I mean, there's been a process in place all this time.
there are certain things that we have to follow.
Okay, thanks for communicating that.
Is that different than the email you sent out?
No,
Was there
ma'am.
changes? Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that we read that out.
Thank you for clarity. Whatever the process is, we're happy that we are at this time of voting this evening. So that vote will be coming up later in the agenda.
You know what I would like to add, because I just heard the word a couple of times, process. Not sure if we have a defined process. I think you just kind of gave us a timeline of what actually occurred. So I think there's an opportunity for us to go back and look and revisit that and kind of come up with a process if the board deems it be necessary.
What do you mean? I'm not understanding what you mean.
When negotiation occur, and then the ratification comes into play, what is it and how exactly do we do it after that point? When the ratification occurs from the teachers union.
I think it's legal.
Can I jump in real
Oh, go
quick?
ahead.
Like I said, we don't have to have the answer, but
Well, we don't have to answer it all tonight, but you have to understand, once we come up with a tentative agreement, it goes to the associations. And until the associations come up with ratification, we can't move forward We
And
have-
that very well could be. So somehow, I don't know if we let the public know. I don't have the answer right at this
Oh, I
point.
see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
but there were some gaps somewhere, evidently, because you would not be reading out the timeline of what occurred.
There
So
were some
it's just an
concerns.
opportunity for us to make it better the
Okay.
next time around.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and with the upcoming tentative agreement, the ratification from ACME
Yes.
that was shared with us tonight, how are we going to move forward on that particular process too?
I can tell you that we have given all the information to our attorneys, and once the attorneys have the information down and perfect, they will send that back to us. We will share it with the association. Once it's been shared with the association and us, we will request a special board meeting for ratification.
Okay, so maybe you can put it in some type of bullet point, just what you said, and give it to us somehow in a FYI?
Yes,
Or whatever,
we can do
so,
that.
so it would not be, what's going on and all of that, so everybody be on the same page.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Are there specific timeframes there? For instance, you say that attorney is going to go over the wording, and then he's going to give it to you to give to the union, or does it go directly to them? I mean, and then do they have a
usually
certain
goes-
amount of time to take a vote, and then a certain amount of time to give it back to us? I mean, there are timelines there that, are they limited by timelines?
No.
Or they can have as much time as they want to
They
do
can
their
have as
vote
much,
and
yes.
all
they-
that? So when it's given to them, they don't have 5 days, for instance. They
No.
can take as long as they want. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that I
The board doesn't
understood
have
that.
control, it's in the association. The part I was talking about the attorneys is, until there is a ratification vote, we don't write up all of the stuff that is necessary. We have an outline
Right.
and all the rest of that we discuss. So as soon as they ratified, which was last night, now the attorneys are at work getting the final information
I just wanted to make sure there
on the
wasn't
contract.
a time frame where they got all the information and they only had 7 days, then we only have 5 days, that type of thing. I want to make sure there weren't
Well,
time constraints on things like that.
CMEA does have a time limit that is in their bylaws, that they must have 48 hours after discussion of the information before they can vote. That
Okay.
isn't, but that's their information.
But they have as long as they want to,
Yes,
to
to get
talk
to it.
about it.
Yes.
It's just once they go to
Yes.
that vote.
It-
Okay,
they-
thank
And
you.
the same with us, our 48 hours, we have to have
Right.
48 hours before we can vote on any item.
Right, so I
Has
mean,
to
if
be
they
on the
wanted
agenda.
to take 30 days, they could take 30 days. If they wanted to take a day, they could take a day.
Correct.
Okay, I just want that to be well understood, because I'm not sure that I understood that. I remembered the 48 hours, but I wasn't certain that there was unlimited time.
Right.
So thank you for that clarification.
So to be
other-
clear,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. The only legal thing that was relevant in this process was us. As far as putting it on the agenda, we had to have had it 48 hours prior to the board meeting for it to go on the agenda.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then I want to just reiterate the fact, I think that Mr. Brown was indicating, and I'm going to say it as well. We need in the future, he mentioned process, but a communication plan, because to me, we publicly sat through several meetings where our union came and said, pretty much, will you move this process along? So it is a public matter, and it should be for all to see publicly, including, we had parents who came out here with the, in my opinion, sometimes misinformation or skewed information. So I think we should have gone back, and we still should be giving not information that should not be shared. I guess the contract procedures, I was listening to CPS discussions, they're not necessarily disclosing the particulars, but the process itself, where we are in it, and how far we as a Board of Education, I think we just continue to allow other groups to be the voice of this board, and it shouldn't be. So there's two sides to every one of these issues, and we should have a voice of where we are, what we're doing, and it certainly shouldn't be members contacting me, and I'm sure several other board members, suggesting that they're being told that the Board of Education is somehow responsible for just sitting on our laurels and not being concerned about the health and wellness of the district. So particularly as it relates to the hiring of our teachers. So if that could be something, and I know Dr. Clark, you and Mrs. Nash, to along with you, Dr. Cunningham, to ensure that we're in a public conversation with this matter, to make it and continue to keep it on the forefront, as well as our side of the circumstance or the situation. I think it's the only transparent and fair thing to do if this is, kind of a democratic process. There's two sides to this. Okay, you want to put some light on the subject? So communication again. Okay, because you reading those things off, I guess it's important. We already knew it. As Jennifer indicated, we had that timeline, but somehow the information is not being matriculated to the mass public and or to those very parents who came to the podium and said, we want you to come to an agreement with our teachers, all of ours. So I think we need to do a better job, even going forward with whatever's taking place next.
Okay, and I have one more. I guess it's a somewhat of a rhetorical question that I'm getting ready to ask, and that is, at any given time, does the approval of either CMEA or ACME constitute being an emergency to vote on that? Can that constitute being an emergency?
Or an emergency board meeting? No.
That's what I was alluding to.
No,
I'm
it
just
can't.
asking, I know there are some very clear things that's considered an emergency that we do not require the 48-hour window
No.
to meet, but I'm just asking the question.
No, I
I
wouldn't.
mean,
be
I can
defined
dig
as
and
an
do some
emergency.
research, but somebody may have the answer, and it sounds like you have the answer, Doc.
So you need to add to the agenda?
Yeah, in less than 48-hour time period.
No, yeah, you're right. It's clear definitions of
But
what,
if it's an
would,
emergency, we can do it in less than 48 hours.
define
And
an
I'm just saying, is
emergency.
there
that would
any-
be one.
any window there that
And that's not us, that's the state. I mean, we need to just check with the local meeting, because that's not something that we.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have board updates. Do we have any board updates from anyone? I do want to mention that we are having our Night of Leadership. It will take place Tuesday, November 15th from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. here. Tuesday, November 15th, our board meeting night for November. It will take place here as always. And just like our Mix It Up, this is our 4th year of doing our Night of Leadership. November 15th is the state of Illinois' recognition of School Board Member Day. And 4 years ago, we decided to take this opportunity to not only celebrate board members, but to celebrate our student leaders in all of our schools. And so our student leadership groups will be coming together on that evening, them along with their sponsors and their parents. And this is a wonderful night. We have been getting record-breaking numbers every year. It's been increasing. I think last year was about 400 people in attendance. And it's an opportunity for our student leadership organizations to share with the school board as well as our visitors. We invite local elected officials, state officials, share with us what they're accomplishing in their leadership groups. And last year we added a piece in where they actually had trifold displays of different projects that they have completed in their organizations, and they were able to explain those to the visitors that were walking around. So this year, we have decided, since it is the election year, this is a perfect opportunity to use this event as a teachable moment for our students. So we will be having an election, and all of our schools are charged with electing, I'm sorry, thank you. Oh, I can read it. Voting on a district model, our school district model. And I'm going to go ahead and read this letter that Natalie just brought up here. In honor of election season, our Night of Leadership 2016 will focus on teaching students the power of voting within a democracy. Our theme is Make a Good Decision, Vote for One Vision. This year, student government groups will have the opportunity to win an awesome prize for their school by gathering ideas from their classmates on creating a new model for our school district. Students, parents, staff, and community members will then be asked to vote online to choose their favorite model from the entries, and members of the school board will announce the winning model at this year's convention-styled event. In the month of November, the state of Illinois recognizes school board members for their volunteer work in support of their schools and communities. In honor of that recognition, the school board seeks to acknowledge student leaders within our district with a number of events aimed at inspiring our students towards civic engagement and community leadership. And as most of you know, it is now a requirement by law that our students, our high school students, receive civic education. So this is helping in that. And I think it's awesome when we can bring the school board together with educational opportunities directly for our students. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what model is chosen. That's going to be fun, and unveiling that night. And I've already been, talking to some of the student leaders, and they are looking forward to participating once again this year. Any questions or comments?
I have one, please.
Yes.
Are we running the Night of Leadership part of it from 5 to 6:30? Or I just recall last year there was a little bit of confusion on the times of things, and people were in here at 6:30, but we didn't come till 7. So I just want to make sure that we get that out if we're changing the time.
Yeah, like we mentioned at the committee of the whole meeting, we will be starting our school board meeting that evening at 7 o'clock. And we will make sure, I've already talked with Terry about making sure that we have the correct time out for that.
Great,
that
thank
board
you.
meeting. Any other questions?
So we're going to start public comments so we're not going to allow that half hour before like we normally do.
No, we will. It's just going to be pushed back.
Everything is going to be pushed back.
So
Okay,
7 to
okay.
7.
But there won't be a good news report that night. We didn't do one last year.
I think we need to make sure good news is out at all times. I always try to do one. If you would prefer I not do one, I won't bring one, according on the pleasure of the board. But, it's going to be a long night, but.
But the good news is,
Good news is good news.
Good news is good news, but unhappy people that have to sit here for an hour is not good. So.
Well, like we said, we'll communicate the correct time. If people come beforehand, that's something they decide to do.
Just make sure we don't have no closed sessions if all possible.
Again, if it's still a board meeting,
Yeah.
so it just, happens that we work it out that way. We have the event prior to, so. Anything else?
I did want to offer clarity. I went to the the Attorney General's site, and you should not have any items added to the agenda within the 48-hour time period. So that's just a response for that.
Okay, Mrs. Gasparo, did you want to elaborate any more on the conference you went to?
I was able to go to a few sessions, some of them that related specifically to higher ed. I went to a State of the State type of a seminar where we talked about MAP funding. As you know, Illinois, with our budget crisis, they are not funding the MAP grants for college students. So we talked about how that affects the college students and the high school students that are going to be coming into the community colleges and the four-year colleges, and how there's going to be less and less students that are going to be able to attend college because of it. The IEA has started a postcard campaign where they're asking everybody to fill out 2 postcards to send to the local legislators so that we can encourage them to provide the MAP grants in the future, so that it will help more students that do plan on going to either a junior college or four-year university. I went to the ESSA conference, which was very enlightening for me. It was really more of a broad overview, but kind of explained things a little bit more than what I had understood. Trying to think of what else I went to all of a sudden. The MAP grants, ESSA, and I think the rest of it was pretty much higher ed. So, but it was interesting. And they also talked a little bit about the triple I and told people about the triple I. So looked forward to going to that one and seeing what kind of sessions they have there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we're moving to our business meeting. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith,
Second.
second by Mrs. Gasparo. Any questions? Okay, Dr. Cunningham, please read the consent agenda.
Yes. 9A, Superintendent 1, regular meeting minutes of September 27, 2016. Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of October 11, 2016. Committee of the Whole meeting closed session minutes of October 11, 2016. For business, approval of accounts payable, agenda of bills for October 2016. Approved payroll for October 2016. Approved health benefit report. Curriculum, approved Crete Monee High School, Illinois High School Theater Festival trip, Urbana, Illinois. Approved CMHS Wrestling Trip 1, National Wrestling Tournament, Rochester, Minnesota. Approved CMHS Trip 2 Wrestling Camp, Lake Forest, Illinois. Approved CMHS Wrestling Trip 3, IHSS Wrestling Tournament, Geneseo, Illinois. Approved Wrestling Trip 4, CMHS IHS Individual State Finals Tournament. Approved CMHS Wrestling Trip 5, IHS Dual Team State Tournament, Bloomington, Illinois. Approved CMHS Wrestling Trip 6, Sophomore State Tournament, Springfield, Illinois. And donations and acknowledgements. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith,
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo,
Hi.
and Secretary's aye, Dr. Hall.
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. I don't think I see any donations. Am I missing them?
There's 2.
I'm searching donation and it's not coming up. Under, what page is it? $191?
191.
Okay, got it. Okay. I got them. Thank you. Principal Aaron Lane from Crete Elementary would like to thank Mr. Egan from Crete American Legion for having the hot dog wagon available to their for their back to school night on September 1st. And she would also like to thank Crete Elementary friend. I'm wondering if that was anonymous. Maybe anonymous donation for their generous donation of 8 $50 monetary gifts for certified staff members at Crete Elementary. Awesome. Okay.
Dr. Hall, I don't know if this is, I asked this some years ago, I'm asking again. What is the criteria? Do we have it publicly listed? Because again, we're still hearing people who are not necessarily acknowledged for their donations. And there's been a lot of, in between. What is the criteria for a donation to the district, and how might one get that? Can we publish that on the website so that individuals who would like to be recognized, if you will? I don't think we want to, it's our intention to omit anyone, but if you don't know how to get it to the proper, through the proper channels and then have it communicated, it's, if my memory, well, Terry, you can actually help me with that. If it's something that is given to a school at one time, that's a school acknowledging a person, but these schools are the schools governed by this Board of Education. So we're acknowledging and would acknowledge anybody who's giving a donation, whether it be to an independent school or being recognized at the board. So I just wondered, did we have a criteria by which someone could follow and
I'm not aware of a criteria. I noticed that what we've done has been when we gotten letters from our principals.
so that's
for
the
these
only
issues.
method?
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
only method I've noticed.
I think we should, because again, it is even through that process that people have been eliminated. So if I donate something to this school and I deem it a donation, whether a principal decides that it isn't, I think we still have an obligation or responsibility to accept it if somebody is giving it in that guise. And that's happened way too many times. So do we have, as a school district, whether it be a policy or procedure as to how we acknowledge donations?
Is it an unspoken
Is it an unspoken?
process?
I think it's very unspoken, but I think what you said is we have for years, if it didn't come through a principal, then didn't it exist? But there's a lot of donations going on, and I don't ever think we want to slight an individual. Do you remember the occasion? Oh, well, I don't think you gave it to the school district. You remember that conversation, Terry? It's been a,
I remember having a conversation where the sitting superintendent at the time said that he had shared with each principal that they are to
forward.
write thank you notes and send them our way so that we can publicly acknowledge people.
But okay. And the same verbal conversation was had that if they don't, again, and that's why I'm saying it needs to be something in writing, because if they don't do that, which was the case for the discussion, then the customer or the person, I'm sorry, not the customer, but the person who is donating, if you don't get it in, and that, I think it took 3 or 4 months before it was even acknowledged, that's not how we want to interact, I don't believe, with
Right.
donors.
And I've had conversations with the principals that, when you get a donation, you need to send that thank you letter to the superintendent's office, because, we don't know that somebody donated popsicles at Kalala Elementary or whatever.
Right.
And so, our donation list is only as good as the information that is sent to us.
My point exactly. Thank you.
And I want to add to that, Mrs. Sanders. We've talked about previously, we have people that want to donate and don't necessarily know the process. We have, as you can see, not all of our donors are necessarily parents that have children in the district and would know, okay, let me talk to the teacher or the principal or whatever. So in establishing whatever process for donations, I think we also need to establish a process of how do I donate? You have people that want to donate money, items, some want to donate their time. I've been approached by people that are saying, hey, we're a local business. Do you all have an internship process for students? So I'm not sure which department that would be under, but I do believe that we need to have a clear process for donations, period. I agree with Mrs. Sanders. I know that we have had people in the past that have donated who were not recognized, and I'm sure they're not doing it for recognition. However, you don't want people to feel slighted if we are acknowledging some and not others. So if you can create whatever that process would look like, I think I said before unspoken, but I believe it's unwritten. It's just an unwritten process. It was a conversation, like Terry said, that was had with the previous superintendent. And we have had administrative changes, since him. So if we can define that to make it clear, to make sure that everybody understands the process.
I'll work with Dr. Clark and we will get something out, a draft to you, and then we'll go back to the process of approving that.
When would we expect that? In what avenue?
The avenue would be, we'll send something out. Actually, we'll have this as a topic on committee of the whole, and we'll actually have something written out to discuss. And then we
Okay,
can
so but prior to
solidify
the
it.
committee of the whole, are you going to send us something?
Yes, what we're doing.
Okay.
And then it will go, whatever happens, it's going to be communicated through the website in our communications and community relations areas.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't think it's not a board thing for us to get all involved in. We just want to understand
No,
that we have a process.
We're going to
and-
show you the process, tell you about the process, and have any discussions about, input and thought of the board, because you have experience on items that we had problems with. I want to hear about those. The process that we're going to set up is going to be the district process that we live with, and we go from there.
Okay, thank you.
I had one just simple thought about this. I seem to recall looking at minutes in the past, and when we do read these letters, they're recorded as sort of thank you letters were read from donor, to thanking people for donations. And I think we should at least, not to put any burden on the recording secretary, but probably record those names, the actual names of the donors in the minutes as a way of just putting our appreciation on record. The so-called permanent records.
So are you're
That's
stating?
a simple fix, but I agree with the discussion that we should have a more transparent process for making gifts to the district, making donations, and
And
acknowledging
say,
them
come
as
one,
well.
come all. We take
Yeah.
donations.
So,
Money, time, items, whatever you got, we'll take it.
Yes.
Okay,
another thought was, I don't know if those letters could actually be addended to the minutes. I don't know if that's legal or, but then they would be up there for people to see.
You would then the letter.
Mhm. 20.
Yes.
Yes, I remember.
We don't need to.
And I
do that.
needed help.
And then he had shared help.
it's a
I
great
spread the
thing,
wealth.
which is great, so we want to do our part, in acknowledging.
We do still include the thank you letter in the board packet. And that's public information, but if somebody doesn't know that it's out there, then they wouldn't know that the letter is there.
So, Mr. Anderson, just to be clear, you're requesting that we list the names in the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, thank you.
Concur.
Next, we have our action reports. Superintendent Cunningham, approval of the Career Preparation Network local funds match.
Okay, Crete Monee, District 201U, belongs to the Career Preparation Network, CPN. This is a network that comprises 6 partners: Prairie State College, Homewood Flossmoor High School, Bloom Township High Schools, Rich Township High Schools, our district, of course, and the Illinois State Board of Education. The network was established by an intergovernmental agreement for the purposes of facilitating the administration of state and federal career and technical grants. This is our section that really talks about employed and employment. that funds nearly all of the career and technical initiatives for our district. The network's also involved in advocacy efforts for the state and legislators surrounding businesses concerning the need for more career technical education opportunities for students. The network serves as a think tank and source of current information regarding best practices in career awareness and education for young adults. Funding for the network derives solely from state and federal grants. However, the district is responsible for paying a small portion of money to the network for services rendered until the state funding arrives to reimburse the districts. The board policy and past practice has been the Board of Education continues to support diverse educational opportunities for our high school students to ensure that we are meeting the needs and interests of all students. The recommendation of the administration is to approve paying this invoice.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the payment of Career Preparation Network local funds match?
So,
Moved by Mrs. Gasparo.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Galbraith. Any comments or questions? Okay, Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
aye.
Mrs. Galbraith,
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo,
Aye.
and Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. Next, we have curriculum. Mrs. Hirsch, resolution to approve submission of ISB revolving school technology loan application.
The Illinois State Board of Education annually offers school districts the opportunity to apply for low-interest technology loans that are designed to make technology improvements in a district affordable and also get the integration of technology into classrooms. The loans are for designated grade levels and are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis with a final deadline for the year of December 1st. Part of the application process requires that the Board of Education approve a resolution authorizing the submission of the loan application. Our district is eligible to apply for a loan for grades 9 through 12 with a maximum loan amount of $279,250 at a 2% interest rate and a 3-year repayment period. The loan proceeds would be used for the following in order of priority. First and foremost, that would be to purchase Chromebooks for student use in the high school with the intent to bring our student-to-device ratio to 2-to-1, 2 students per device. Additionally, we could then purchase hardware to support that implementation in classrooms, such as putting in HD monitors, that become interactive, replacing projectors that have been here for several years, and then also additional Chrome technologies that allow the Chromebooks and the HD monitors to interact with one another. And then finally, to provide staff development for our teachers and administrators on how to effectively integrate that technology into the curriculum and their classroom instruction. This would give the high school a student-to-device ratio that currently matches what we've established this year at Crete Monee Middle School, which is 2-to-1. So as students are moving from the middle school to the high school, they will be having the same type of technology. The loan payment would be included in our technology budget, and we are recommending that the board approve the resolution authorizing the application submission.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the resolution to approve submission of ISB revolving school technology loan application?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sanders,
Second.
second by Mr. Anderson. Any comments or questions?
Please.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead, Mr. Brown.
No. Without repeating those numbers, but we were talking about close to $250,000, and we were talking about 2% as far as loan repayment over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did the math on that. It was about 17,000, somewhere around there, $17,000 in interest over that period. But somehow you was going to obtain that money from what area again?
Well, I think there's a couple of things here. We have a current lease payment on our elementary Chromebooks that will be done at the end of the school year. So part of that payment would be replacing that. The other thing that Mr. Lyle and I talked about is that as we're implementing Chrome technology into the school, things are going to happen like replacing our virtual labs. Virtual labs have licensing, which I believe we discussed it's somewhere in the $75,000 a year range. So as we reduce that technology, we will save licensing costs. Also, with Chrome technology, the other thing that happens is we're not having to license for Windows software because we're using Google Docs. So that reduces the licensing cost there. And then the other thing that I think is an important consideration is that the technology that's currently in classrooms right now, smart boards and projectors, those have been there for several years, and we've had a lot of issues this year with either smart boards not working or projectors, either the bulbs going out or the projectors stopping. They're not working. So when you look at the replacement costs on those, a bulb for a projector runs about $400, and to go to a bulbless projector is $800. So if you did the multiplication on the number of classrooms that we have in this building, you're looking at a significant dollar amount. And part of this loan, it's not only to get the technology into students' hands, but it's going to help us establish a replacement cycle for the technology, because eventually things wear out. And when the technology wears out, pretty much our classroom instruction comes to a screeching halt. That's kind of where we're at. The other thing, and we didn't really talk about this much at the committee of the whole, but what we've been working on with Dr. Harden and Ms. Hannigan in terms of curriculum is we're really pushing now. We have with our new, we have new software that we're using for credit retrieval. And this year we were able to switch companies and get a much better product, which we're not paying a per student license anymore for that software. We're paying a site license for the school, which now enables us to utilize those online courses, not only for credit retrieval, but to create blended learning opportunities for students. So with Chromebooks, and now I am able to do more work on my own. And maybe I only meet with a teacher 2 or 3 times a week, and the rest I'm doing online work because we have that capability now in the school. And the other piece to that is it provides our teachers with a curricular resource. So if I have a student that needs a little bit extra, maybe they didn't do so well on this chapter, I can actually go in to the online course and pull a unit off for a student and give them that as extra support in learning the material. So, or I can pull activities off of there and now bring that into my curriculum. So the addition of the technology and making sure we have our replacement technology lined up, and then that in addition to what we've done with our online course licensing is really just going to open up a whole new world for our students in terms of learning opportunities in this building. And it's actually pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward to getting this going.
You know, I would repeat everything you said for confirmation and clarification, but because of time restraint, I will not do that. But thank you. And I do like to add, Dr. Williams being our business manager, this was a big chunk of money, but I hear how this is aligned with our strategies of being cost effective and efficient, coupled with the educational portion of what you're looking to do here. So, but I do, and we did talk about this at the community or committee as a whole. But Dr. Williams, did you have any say so with the cost at all? How this was going to be driven? Did it get brought to you first in some capacity?
I've had some conversations with Ms. Hurley regarding this. I believe recently, I don't know if it was yesterday
your
or
mic.
today. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've had some conversation with Ms. Hirsch regarding this, earlier this week, or it might have been, but yeah, it had to be earlier this week, regarding the lease amount as it relates to the existing lease. The existing lease is less than was originally anticipated. I also know that for the licensing piece, the plan is to reduce the Microsoft licenses, but we've not reduced those as of yet. So completing the application at this time is appropriate, but the actual amount that the district will be purchasing will be determined upon approval and in line with the budget for next year.
Okay, did I hear about being able to buy these Chromebooks back for $1? Did I hear that in the conversation?
That's the elementary lease that we have. Part of the lease terms are, once the lease is up, we purchase the 400 Chromebooks back for $1 each.
Is that part of this whole package deal or no?
No, because that's an elementary.
Got
This
it.
is for high school.
Okay. Thanks, and thanks for being so articulate on what you brought to the board. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, and I totally agree, our company literally just buys a whole new projector once the light bulb goes out. A projector is cheaper than the light bulb sometimes, so I agree. But the question is, we invested a lot of money in the smart board at the time. When you say replace, I mean, are we eradicating it altogether, or will we continue to use them until they exhaust themselves? I hope.
Yes, yeah. We have, at the middle school, we have the ability to take smart boards as we replace them with other things and move them to other places in the district where they're breaking down. So we've been doing that. We did that at the middle school. Took out some old Bright Links that had been there for, probably 7 or 8 years that weren't functioning at all. And we were able to move smart boards into that. So, it's always, one of the challenges is always having enough equipment on hand. So when there's a breakdown, you're not faced with the prospect of having to go out and find a brand new smart board. You can use that and put a newer piece of technology to replace what you've moved.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And my final comment is you were kind of going that direction. I know that when I walked the middle school prior to the opening, superintendent and I and Mary Bragg, I just want to make the board aware that there are some concerns with continuing to use chalkboards. And I believe we have chalkboards at the middle school, some of the elementary schools. And according to Ms. Bragg, there may be some issues with the dust from the chalk and students with breathing issues. And so I don't know if there's a specific plan on how you all want our district to look technology-wise, but I would hope that that's in the plans of replacing the chalkboards. That the bad memories I have as a teacher using the chalkboard and getting the chalk on your sleeve and
Make my fingers peel.
Yes. Bits of chalk around the classroom or whatever. But I hope that is in the plan, that we are looking to eventually replace those and bring in whiteboard or white wall or
White wall is very popular right now. And I believe the middle school is the last school that may have any chalkboards. I know most of the elementaries have already put the covering over the chalkboard. So that is.
And that was an issue too, because the way they placed them, kind of in the middle, they left the board there and just put this huge, piece of equipment. It's a little awkward.
At the time, it was very strategic. But now they probably need to be more either off to the side or on some kind of sliding track so they can.
Okay.
So for clarity, though, with what Dr. Williams just said, we might have a wish list, quote unquote, but this is an application authorizing us to seek a loan in this amount, but potentially putting together what we may absolutely need versus what we want. We may or may not be able to encompass all of the things that we need under this particular grant until the loan comes back, and then it's assessed via our budget process, and then we can make the determination. In other words, I just don't want to think that we have 279,000 and blah, blah, blah. It's ours and
This is just to authorize us to apply for it.
Okay.
Okay, my turn. We might have discussed this last week, but I can't remember it. Under strategic plan, we go priority 1 and then priority 4. Am I missing 2 and 3, or do I not understand how this goes?
No, I put priority one, I always put in priority one because generally what I'm talking about is academics. And then I put in priority 4 because we're asking for a loan that has a repayment. So I put in the priority 4 being the financial one.
So those are ones that you just pick? We don't say it's our first priority, our second priority?
No, those are the
1 and 2.
priorities from our strategic plan that's listed.
Okay.
Right.
Which ones
From the
they're
actual
applicable to.
strategic.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I guess it's not so much, I think you're looking at it, how things are prioritized.
No,
Okay, this is not, yeah, these are our strategies from the district level. And it just so happened to hit this strategy and this strategy. And that
Okay.
is, that's a little confusing to me, say priorities. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of our Title I school-wide plans for Balmoral, Crete, and Talala Elementaries. Mrs. Hirsch.
As we discussed at the committee of the whole, our Title I schools are required annually to have their school-wide plans approved by the Board of Education. Our 3 schools that are up tonight have been Title I schools for many years. They've been what we call school-wide programs for many years, so their plans are required to be approved. We did the middle school and MEC back in June. They were new to Title I school-wide programs, and we wanted to make sure we could include them in the grant. The school-wide plan includes 10 components. The core of it is really the school improvement plans, which were brought last month as part of the academic report. And then there's some district processes that are part of the other remaining components. This is something we keep on file, and when we eventually get audited, that's something that we'll have to produce are the board-approved plans. So we're asking the board to approve these tonight, and this will allow us to get all 5 schools on the same approval cycle. So when I bring them back next year, I will bring them all back at the same time in September, and then we'll go forward from there.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Title I school-wide plans for Balmoral Elementary, Crete Elementary, and Talala Elementary?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Anderson,
Second.
second by Mrs. Galbraith. Any questions?
Laura, could you, just for the sake of the public, I guess, and maybe even the board, could you define what Title I is and possibly equate that to Title II?
Sure.
Okay.
Title I and Title II, believe it or not, are still under what is called the NCLB grant, and it consists of those 2 grants.
No Child Left Behind.
No Child Left Behind, yes. They possibly will be changing it at some point here in the future. Our Title II grant is for professional development. And then our Title I grant is for schools that have a poverty rate of 40% or more, a free and reduced lunch rate of 40% or more. And then districts have the ability to determine which schools within a district are designated as Title I schools. Over the last, I'd say 10 years, we've grown from 1 Title I school till now we have 5. The pool of money is based on a poverty count within the district boundaries. And then you go and you look at the free and reduced lunch rate at each school to make those determinations. And then the money is allocated. So as a district, we get a certain dollar amount. And then depending on how many schools we have, that dollar amount gets divided up on a per pupil basis. So right now we have Talala, Crete, and Balmoral. Those were our original 3 Title I schools. And then MEC came on board when their free and reduced lunch rate exceeded 75%, because that's the tipping point. When a school hits 75% free and reduced lunch, you must qualify them as a Title I school. They came on with a targeted assistance program, which just means we're we're looking at certain students who need support as opposed to using the money for the entire school. And then when we made the change to move sixth grade to middle school and go IB, we classified them as a Title I school so that we were able to get funding to that building to support the implementation of the IB program and the design classes and the technology.
Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
I had one question. The sorry, I'm just looking at the school. All of the schools have their own individual missions and school vision separately.
Yes, they do.
And I'm assuming, because I just remember a conversation, are these visions and mission statements in a I'm just trying to read them quickly too, a collaborative as it relates to the overall mission and vision statement that comes from the board, from the school district rather, vision and mission, or are they independent of that?
Well, I know they have developed them in a collaborative process within the building, so it's building specific, but I would assume that they align pretty well to what the district is. I mean, I think we're all of the same mindset that we're here to make our students successful, so they seem to all follow that along those lines.
We had a discussion at one of our administrative council meetings, and then we went over what vision, mission, and values were. And they told me of how they had their individuals developed, and they were all supposed to be developed underneath the district vision and mission statement. So they're supposed to be about that, but underneath that.
Okay, that's why I asked.
Yes,
'cause
and I was
remember,
just confirming to make sure
a
we're on the same
principal
page.
did come to me and they were confused. I was somewhere near your meeting.
Okay.
I remember this. And so I was wondering if that ever came to fruition, because that particular principal was curious as to if they should be coming from or derived from this overall mission statement. So, okay, I didn't know if it ever happened.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, please call the roll.
Just one quick more comment. Kim brings up a very good point, because, if we don't have clarity at this level with the mission statement on the district level and everything else, as far as the school's mission statement should be aligned with the overall mission statement, we are going to be pulling our tails, for lack of a better phrase. So I think we need clarity, because I heard you say more than once, I think. So at some point, we need clarity to say, you know what, everything is aligned from every school with the district mission. At some point, you need to get that to us to say, you know what, we need to fine tune it where everything is aligned.
We are headed for that fine-tuned point, that fine point that you're talking about there. And as we redo our strategic plan, everything will be under the umbrella. I say I think because I wasn't here. I am here now. We will make sure it's together.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson
Aye.
and Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith, Mrs. Gasparo,
Aye.
and the secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. Now we have human resources. May I have a motion to approve the employment of certified staff, reassignment of certified staff, leave of absence of certified staff, the return from leave of absence for certified staff, the intent to retire from certified staff, the resignation of certified staff, the dismissal of certified staff, the employment of educational support staff, the reassignment of educational support staff, the leave of absence for educational support staff, the return from leave of absence of educational support staff, the intent to retire of educational support staff, the resignation of educational support staff, and the dismissal of educational support staff.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith,
Second.
second by Mrs. Gasparo.
In the personnel
Mr. Neal.
report, The certified staff employment, Christopher Kissel, Audrey Lakes, and Kathleen Sullivan. Certified staff intent to retire, Mary Forstall. Certified staff leave of absence, Megan Schmidt. Certified staff return from leave of absence, Amy Bertoletti, Catherine Burnham, and Brianna Sylvester. Certified staff resignation, Kelly Egan Pater. Educational support staff employment, Renee Taylor. Educational support staff intent to retire, Cheryl Karstens. Educational support staff leave of absence, Erica Love. Educational support staff return from leave of absence, Margaret McGann. Educational support staff resignation, Deborah Brom and Sally Dorr.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the personnel report as listed? Did I do the motion?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Please take the roll. Any questions? Okay, please take the roll. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the 2015 to 2019 collective bargaining agreement between the Board of Education and the Crete Monee Education Association as presented to the Board of Education, subject to language cleanup by the administration and the association, which does not substantively alter the terms of the agreement.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Brown,
Second.
second by Mrs. Galbraith. Any questions? Okay, Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
And Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. Do we have any old business?
I have some old business. It's not very old. It's old from the Committee of the Whole. At the Committee of the Whole, we had discussion about a grant writer, and of course, we've already put in the information on that position in yesterday's FYI. But we also talked about looking out for groups that did grant writing. I had a discussion this afternoon with Robert J. Miller and Associates to discuss grant writing. They do an overall section of grant writing where they say that they will get us 4 times as much as we put in. Their charges were a little higher than I thought. They were ranged from $7,000 a quarter to $10,000 a quarter. A quarter every 2.5. I'm sorry, every 3 months, every quarter. Yes, ma'am. And that would, if you pay the top, it's $40,000 a year. And they said they would get us at least $400,000 a year on that. It would be 10 times your investment. They have a program where they come out and they do an evaluation of your district after discussing our district. They are very interested in coming out and having a discussion with us. We will continue to look for these, hope to have 3 to 4 finished by the time we get to our next regular board meeting so we can have a discussion about our next steps.
Okay, thank you. Any new business? I do have new business. I wanted to make everyone aware that the leadership group, student leadership group, Kids in the Hall at the high school will be hosting their very first leadership summit on October 29th at the high school. This will consist of various workshops that will be given for youth and their parents. And there will be giveaways and free breakfast and lunch that will be given to those in attendance. It's for 6th grade through 12th grade. And some of the workshops will be dealing with critical issues dealing with today's youth, including youth self-esteem building and parent-child relationships. So I wanted to make everyone aware of that.
Dr. Hall, what is the name of the workshop?
It is the Youth Leadership Day Rally. Youth
Leadership.
On a Saturday, yes.
What are the hours on that?
It's 9:30 to 5 o'clock. I don't know if they put it on there. Okay.
It may be on the high school website, but I don't think it's on the districts yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, the kids are excited. I heard some invited me already.
Oh, that's good. Okay. We'll make sure we get the information on the website. Okay, any other new business? I do believe we have a need to go into closed session. I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing board practices and procedures.
I move that we go into closed session for the purpose of whatever you just mentioned.
Board practices and procedures.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Brown, second by Mrs. Galbraith. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith. Aye. Mrs. Gasparo.
Hold on. They can't even, they're not even competitive.
You know, this happened last year. They're so talented. They're so good, but they get tight in the big show.
God, he's so
They can't start hitting. I mean, defensively, they've been brilliant. Pitching, they've been brilliant.
And you know what?
Until tonight, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it was tough early. But I saw that as being a flaw. The Cubs cannot manufacture runs. They either hit a home run or they can, close games, not fucking steal. Get a run. That was. No hit. That happened. Yeah. I think. Yeah, you're right. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded?
I did, second.
I got it. A motion to adjourn? Yep.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, now you're running, you big chicken.
Okay, who's seconding?
Who said
Motion to
first?
adjourn.
Mo? I'll go second.
No, Mo couldn't.
No, I motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Yeah, I
you
didn't
did.
motion, I did vote.
Okay, all right, I'll take second.
Okay.
You got all in favor, everybody's in favor.
Oh, yeah, because I turned my pink sheet in, so you.
Yeah,
Don?
Terry asked me to just text.
We did finish. Thank you, sir.